Now, the whole culture in Pakistani cinema is changing. Still, I think films made for Pakistan have to appeal to the sensibility of Pakistanis. I think internationally, what they're expecting from us is very realistic storytelling. I mean, Joyland essentially is a love story between a lower middle class married man from Lahore and his affair with a trance dancer in a local theaters, in the local theater scene. There are a lot of very good voices in Pakistan. There's a whole new sensibility for filmmaking. People are coming out of film schools.
Hi guys, welcome back to Momina's Mixplate Season 3 powered by Insignia Shoes. In the studio with me, I have director Saqib Malik with me. I'm very excited to get to know him. We're going to be discussing the directing landscape and the film landscape in Pakistan, what it takes to create content for the local market, and how do we take our storytelling to the international platforms. Stay tuned till the end of the video, and if you're a movie buff and you're a director in the making, this is an interview that you would definitely learn a lot from. Before we get started, you guys don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can be part of the Momina's Mixplate family. And let's welcome on Saqib Malik. Hi, Saqib.
Hi, Momina. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
I have met your brother multiple times. I think I've interviewed him and I've run along.
He's the more famous Malik.
Yeah. But I mean, you're making waves in your own right.
Well.
So, I mean, I wanted to talk obviously about the film culture and the film industry in Pakistan. The first thing I want to start off the conversation with is that what, in your opinion, is the true essence of Pakistani cinema?
Well, that's a bit of an abstract question because we're going through a period of transition. If you talk about classical Pakistani cinema, of course, the essence was there were certain tropes. There was song and dance, there was drama, there was a certain way of acting, there was a certain way of performing. It was theatrical, it was loud. Now, the whole culture in Pakistani cinema is changing. Your biggest budget film, Maula Jat, has no songs, for example. And it's a kind of it's a fantasy. It's not set in a real environment.
Interesting. And what for you is the identity of Pakistan? Where do you see yourself in the larger picture of Pakistani cinema?
Caught in the middle. Because as you know, I made a movie called Baaji in 2019, which did pretty well. That film was an ode to classical Pakistani cinema, this Pakistani cinema which I grew up in the 70s. So, it had song and dance, it had, that kind of dialogue delivery. But at the same time, I wanted that film to be relevant to today. So I put in certain aspects that would make it relevant to today in terms of storytelling, in terms of characterization. And that film also traveled internationally. It was released all over the world and it went to a bunch of festivals, the South Asian festivals where it did very well.
You were just very recently you were at the Toronto Film Festival.
Yes.
And you were kind of in talks, breaking, and telling stories, Pakistani stories on a global scale.
Right.
When it comes to that, and you're talking about Maula Jat and you're talking about, Maula Jat is still more, has more mass appeal, but Joyland is still a very niche market product.
Right.
What, in your opinion, is the main difference in telling stories locally and internationally? Pakistani stories geared for the local audiences, and then Pakistani stories geared for the international audiences.
That's a very good question. Like I said, that stories, the way they told for the Pakistan market, even that has changed now. Like I said, Maula Jat has no songs in it.
Yeah.
Right? That would have been unheard of. And then you've had certain films like Kamli and all, which did very well.
Fantastic.
In a limited way, but it was meant for that market, and it succeeded in that market. So, still, I think films made for Pakistan have to appeal to the sensibility of Pakistanis, which means, certain topics which are more accessible, certain ways of conveying your character. Even Kamli did, even though it was magical realist, it was a very different way of telling a film. Cake was like that, Lal Kabutar was like that, but still it fit into certain genres. I think internationally what they're expecting from us is very realistic storytelling, films that take their own have a very authentic voice, films that don't shy away from bold topics that may be considered taboo in Pakistan. I mean, Joyland essentially is a love story between a lower middle class married man from Lahore and his affair with a trance dancer in a local theaters, in the local
Yeah.
theater scene.
Realistic manner.
Yeah.
And like which directors do you feel like in the new crop? Because I feel like in our music industry we've had a major disruption and I've loved it. And I
Right.
think like Pakistan has loved the new music and especially these new kids that are coming out,
Right,
from
right.
Hassan Rahim to Manu to
course.
Two Towers
Yeah.
and Taha Ji, Abdullah
Finally,
Siddiqui.
it took a long time.
Very long time. I mean,
Yeah.
we had like the rock revolution early on in like the 90s to the early 2000s.
Then we had the pop revolution with Atif and Ali
Atif
Zafar and
Ali
all.
Zafar
Yeah.
and all of that. And then there was like a dry period
Yes.
up until Coke Studio and all. And it just became very corporate. Music became
Right.
a very corporate. There was no
True.
organic, I guess, evolution to it.
Yeah, and it crosses over.
Yeah.
People like to hear it internationally. And similarly for film, I would say that there are a lot of very good voices in Pakistan. There's a whole new sensibility for filmmaking. People are coming out of film schools. In my time when I studied in the late 70s, early 80s, there was no film school. So now people are coming from film school. They're exposed to cinema from around the world, so they know what is wanted and what needs to be made. But the problem is access. Where do you get the access? Where do you get the finance to make that film? How do you put it on that market? How do you get people to see it? How do you get people to hear about it? Because there are hardly any local film festivals, which is a tragedy. Government support to film is very superficial.
Right.
If you can't do anything else, at least create a platform where young filmmakers can or support platforms where young filmmakers can show their work. So the problem right now is with access. Even now, the big digital platform revolution, which has hit the world, which is now providing huge revenue streams in India, everywhere else, that is not open to Pakistan. So now when we make a movie, the only way for us to still make money is cinema. Cinema is so risky, so dicey. We only get 30% of every 100 rupees that a film earns. That's nothing for a producer.
Yeah.
And there is no other way of earning it. Yes, we have local digital platforms, but they pay very little.
Yeah.
Where are the Netflix? Where are the Amazon Primes? Where are the Apple TVs that we need? Because we are a country of 220 million people. We have like huge penetration of smartphones in the country. Why are the international digital platforms not looking at us? And remember, what we produce in Urdu, right, travels all over the world, because Hindi and Urdu are very similar.
Very similar.
Wherever Hindi is spoken, Urdu is spoken, and our TV dramas have access to all these international markets.
For Bollywood, like I have friends from college. I've studied acting in college.
Right.
And one of my friends, he is from Bombay, and he was in the theatre program with me as well. And one of the requirements in Bollywood is that you need to be able to speak Urdu.
Right.
Like it's a requirement, and he couldn't break out because he was really bad at Hindi.
Of course.
And then Urdu was completely. They're like that you have to speak Urdu because all the lyrics are in Urdu.
Right.
A lot of like the poetry is still in Urdu. It's not Hindi. It is
spoken Hindi and Urdu are very similar,
It's
right?
very similar.
So wherever Hindi is spoken in the world, our work can tap into that.
Tap into it, yeah. I'm going to kind of go back to like there are two things that I want to talk about. One is like I have my own opinion on why like OTT platforms are not looking at Pakistan,
Right.
and I think one of the main things is that like there's uncertainty in political constant strife. Because I mean with YouTube also, like I mean they've seen with TikTok also like ban lag raha hai, lag raha hai, you know what I mean? So I mean I understand, and like it's not like I get it from their point of view. I can understand when you're seeing like a platform coming, like YouTube coming in and then being banned for many years, then getting like rights to be opened up again. Again, like we're so far behind when it comes to YouTube. Like our algorithms are like, they don't even push our content to the level that they push Indian content or Bangladeshi content. Like major global MCNs are now sitting in Dhaka, in India, in Dubai, but none of them, like they've tried breaking into Pakistan, they've not been successful.
Right.
But I'm going to go back to your statement about like cinemas. As like that, I don't know how this happened. We took something that was so mass market. Cinema was a mass market, mass appeal thing, and we made it luxury all of a sudden.
Right.
Because every cinema that popped up is a luxury cinema, like with recliners and all. So you're again, the films that you're making, like dramas are still going into the mass because everybody has a TV or access to TV or YouTube that they are able to watch it, but there are not that many screens.
Right. So that is a big problem. If you remember back in till like 2010 or in the till then, cinema was really a mass market thing. So that's a
Lahore, we
big
used to have
problem.
Regal and there used to be all those cinemas there, and then Abbott Road, and
Bilkul.
and they're still functional.
Well, they're still functional. They're barely functional. I don't think they're going to last very long because the
Yeah.
audience that used to go there stopped going to the cinema.
Yeah.
Now, even though these cinemas still charge 200 rupees a ticket, but even that is too much. Also, the kind of films that are being made are not always the kind of films that your mass market wants to see. Occasionally, there's a London Nahi Jaunga that people come and see, or
Punjab Nahi Jaungi, or like-
Qaid-e-Azam Zindabad, Ab Maula Jat, let's see how
Yeah.
it does. But, that class has entirely stopped going to the cinema. So we have to not only, it's a catch-22. If we make films for that market, we don't know people will come. What are the cinemas that are going to release it? I think the solution to this is that multiplexes should have like one day a week, like they just recently done in India, but they have cinema day. Once a week, they have a cinema day where tickets are 75 rupees Indian, that's 150 rupees Pakistani. If we, our exhibitors, get together and say, okay, once a week we're going to have cinema day where our tickets are 200 rupees across the board, people will go. How do you think cinemas are surviving in the UK? They have those memberships.
Memberships.
Right?
Not just that, even like with Orange in the UK, they had Orange Wednesdays. I still remember because when I was studying there, they had
Right.
Orange Wednesdays, which was like buy one, get one free ticket.
Bilkul. And so students, they have special timing for students. They have like matinee shows that are cheaper than evening shows. Exhibitors are being inventive over there. Cinema, when I say exhibitors, cinema owners, to get audiences in. In Pakistan, our cinema owners are so lazy. They feel, okay, बस हमने 1500 का ticket कर लिया या 1200 का कर दिया, बस इसी पे चलें. Now, they have to be inventive. They have to increase the volume. You increase the volume, you get more people into cinemas. More people come into the cinemas, they might want to come again. So that is a big problem right now. The other problem is that ever since Indian movies stopped coming and playing,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, like content like across. I mean, if you share their content, like your content can go out there. Like, I mean, there could be a deal. Like, I mean, there needs to be more. But anyways, like, I mean, that's a much like deeper topic, and I think we can discuss that for like hours at length. Another pressing issue that I kind of feel, and like why, and I wanted to discuss with you was that there doesn't seem to be that much camaraderie in the industry because. It almost seems like that every director, producer, like production house is kind of like in their own world and feel like they're an industry in themselves because when the films are kind of coming out, there's 6 movies releasing on Eid weekend.
absolutely. So we are having a lot of those teething problems. You have to understand that till about 2005, we had a proper industry. Films, the movies were coming out of the studios. There was a system in place. Even the most unsuccessful film at the box office would eventually make its money back. There was an understanding between the distributors, the exhibitors, and the producers, the 3 main branches of the industry. But now that we started the whole, cinema thing again, there is no understanding. Exhibitors and distributors and producers are at loggerheads with each other when they need to be united. They need to understand that it has to be a win-win situation for all. I mean, recently we saw on Eid where a lot of producers took certain cinema owners to court because they felt that Doctor Strange did not, was not supposed to be released
I
on
mean,
Eid.
like, it's like make better content and don't release everything at the same time.
Well, so I'm not taking any sides. I'm saying that was a big problem as to, when you've got a big Hollywood film coming, or in the previous times there was a big Indian film coming, and there's Pakistani movies, create a fair level playing space so that your Pakistani films do well. So there's that problem. Then the other big issue is, producers need to realize they can't release 4 or 5 films. So they responsible for their own issues.
They are.
So you can't blame that on the exhibitors.
No, you
अगर
can't.
आप एक ईद पे 4 फिल्में रिलीज कर रहे हैं, so you're dividing that very limited business into 4. Just release 2, and that is where the discipline has to come in with the producers. So after that, when the producers cry that this exhibitors are not giving us the right, level space or are not giving us the right time slots, they're only to blame themselves because they should have just realized whichever 2 films say, okay, now we're going to release on Eid. Those are the 2 films that should come. The rest should come later.
I mean, I felt the same way about Kamli. That was like, it didn't come out on any Eid weekend, nothing. It just came out literally out of the blue.
Right.
And I mean, they had to extend its show times and they had to extend because, again, it was the product was really good. It was a very interesting and very different film that like was coming out of Pakistan. And it also appealed to people.
Right.
Visually, it was nice. And there wasn't any other really Pakistani movie that was coming out or any big release was around there.
Right.
So we were like, okay, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. You have big blockbuster films with the big stars, and then you have out-of-the-box films.
Yeah.
What we need to make are films that are produced in the 2 to 3 crore, 3.5 crore range, that then do well enough to recover their costs in Pakistan, and then through digital rights and through satellite rights and through some international play, make their money back.
That's a very smart way of looking at it. I really do hope that this kind of vision, I think more producers and I think that's what we need to kind of create in industry, right?
Yes,
in order to
absolutely.
build it again. Bygones be bygones. There was an industry. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
We're not sitting in that age anymore. So I don't believe in looking back. Looking back is learn from your mistakes. What's ahead? How are we kind of taking this forward?
Absolutely.
And for me, I think one of my biggest critiques for films in Pakistan, I'm going to put a few of them aside because some of them have done really well and I really thoroughly enjoyed the films, has been the storytelling.
Well, I'll tell you. So, story writing and script is the toughest part of it all, the idea part.
is.
And that's not just a Pakistani problem, that's a global issue. If you see 80% of films from across the border in India, the stories really suck.
Yeah.
They've got great production value, the photography is great, the acting is great. The same critique that you've leveled at a lot of Pakistani films holds true for lots of films, whether it's Hollywood, France, Canada,
Of course it is.
China, whatever. But in Pakistan, I'll tell you the issue really is, because of course I'm from this industry, is that there is a thing called development. Script development is one of the most vital parts of filmmaking, and that is what we spend the least amount of effort on. Projects are internationally in development for years. They go through many writers. Not just one writer, then there's another writer, then there's a team of writers that finally comes through with it. So there is a huge process that goes through with that. Right now, I'm a co-producer on an international film called Xtra, and I'm not creatively involved with that, but I am one of the producers on it. But that film has gone through so many processes of script development, so much workshopping, and now it's finally being shot as we speak. But that is the thing here, that people don't really put in that kind of effort into the thinking part of it. Baaji, for example, for all its pros and cons, whatever, but I spent a year and a half on that film developing it before we went and shot it.
And so guys, if you're a storyteller, please go and do some writing courses. There are so many available online now. I think that's something that maybe we should develop more than filmmakers. It should be storytellers. Actually writers is where we need to invest.
Yeah, film schools, all the big universities now, colleges have film programs. I think writing, it should be an integral part of your film degree.
Of course, it needs to be. And maybe if we don't have that kind of thing, literature, studying, I even sometimes say that even if we're in the very birthing, let's say that forget bygones be bygones. Like you said, we're ushering in a new era. There's all sorts of content that's being consumed. People are far more aware with the OTT platforms that are available to us. There's all sorts of content available.
Right.
So why is K-pop so big? K-dramas are so big now. Why? There's not, they're shot in a very Pakistani manner.
No, I would say our dramas are actually quite good.
They're very good.
We of course can improve, but we figured out the formula there.
Yeah. Okay, before we go, anyone internationally, any directors that you kind of identify with, you were ever inspired by, whether living or dead? Or
I grew up on classic Hollywood. So, the directors of that era, Billy Wilder, George Cukor, Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock is amazing.
Yeah, these are the directors that inspired me. And then in recent times, there was Almodovar, who's a Spanish director. There's an amazing amount of work going on right now in the world. And one is always learning and one is always inspired, which is why I went this year to the Toronto International Film Festival, although I didn't have a film, but one, I wanted to see how Joyland was received, and it got a standing ovation, like a 5-minute standing ovation, and not Pakistanis, it was an international audience.
Yeah.
And people just loved it. And so that gave me a lot of joy and a lot of strength as a filmmaker to see what people are seeing. And also, but just to be inspired to see cinema from around the world and to see it on a big screen with an audience. So I think the outlook on cinema,
like-minded audience.
Yeah, exactly. So right now I'm just being inspired. I just want to soak it in before I decide what I do next. I've got a bunch of things happening in my mind. They're cooking in my mind. I've got a bunch of scripts in front of me that people have given me. I'm reading them, looking into them. I will definitely make another film when that will just pop up one day when I get up.
Inshallah. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking
My
out the
pleasure.
time. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. It was very insightful, and I'm pretty sure that people out there who understand film and want to know more about it will really learn from this. So thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys enjoyed the segment. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can be part of the Momina's Mixed Plate family. And I'll see you next time. Take care.